so much coming through me right now. Part of it because of Andrea Knows' videos. Part of it because of a comment that I wrote as a response to Shannon222 in my last video. Sweet baby Jesus, hold my fucking hand and help me pull this through once. Thank you. Buckle in, buttercups. I've been saying this for a while, and I'm going to say it again. Within the spiritual stuff is matrix-based programming. You either feel it or you don't. This being said, we are all unique individuals going through an awakening ascension. No matter who you are on this planet, whether you want to face it or not, you're going through it, right? And we are all one. Within the we are all one, we are all individuals. There are so many potential timelines and so many potential timelines in flux right now. Is really time to know yourself and be true to yourself. This being said, me being true to myself is doing what I do. If we look at ourselves as individual snowflakes that fall from the sky, not all snowflakes play the same fucking part. Some dissipate before they even touch the ground because they touched something else and it was warm, like a car hood or somebody's face or somebody's hand. Some snowflakes get shoved by the shovels and graders and things that push the snow to make piles so that people can walk safely and that others can drive safely. I could go on and on about how every snowflake becomes a different thing once it hits the ground, but I think you get my point. We're all here for a different purpose. We all have different timelines. Within those different timelines, we can ebb and flow, come towards each other, see each other like, whoa, soul sister, soul brother. But we're not meant to stick together. Right? When we're still running the same matrix program, when timelines separate, we still feel anger, fear, all the whatever fucking words you want to wrap around it. Because otherwise, when people come and go, it's like, I'll see you later, alligator. In a while, my crocodile. It is not a fucking big deal. It does not hurt. Only when we were still running the matrix programming of codependency does, when our frequency separates from someone else and it just doesn't feel good anymore, do we want to hang on to it. Am I making any sense so far? Hands up if I make sense. Please put your fucking hands up wherever you are. Squirrel. The comment I made to Shannon, I'm going to kind of rewire it, but you can go look at it if it showed up, is that in many card games, there's a wild card, right? So you can have a game where the two of spades is not actually the two. It's the fucking ultimate card that either gets you to win or to lose. And it's the same for us in this whole collective. You can't just go grab on and listen to vids and listen to people talk or read books and think that they are for you anymore unless they are for you. Focusing on exactly the stuff that we're meant to is what we're meant to do. It's so fucking pivotally important right now to not be filling our heads with any doubts, because within a bunch of the fucking programming is where all the fucking fears and doubts are embedded. Pretty beautiful people saying wonderfully, like, blah, 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 eloquent shit are the very ones keeping us in a holding patterns. And you either feel it or you're just watching it or listening to it and getting distracted the same old way since ever of the beginning of time. And that in the last 100 years, we can't get away from it even if we try. But once we try, guess what? We do. One of the things that's pissing me off, and not because I'm wounded, not because I'm triggered, because fuck. People speaking the same talk, and it makes no fucking sense because we're not all the same. There are people who in their whole fucking lifetime never stood up for themselves, never loved themselves enough to be their own best friend, to make the moves and to do the shit that they had to do in their life. So they're on a certain timeline where, yeah, it is about going within for you because you never did it before. Ever. You never, ever loved yourself enough to see yourself as your own ultimate completeness. There are people who never had the courage to speak up, so they're the ones that have to speak up about certain things right now. There are people who dreamed of having a certain business or a certain reality that never actually did that in their world before, and it's their time to do it now. There are some of us who have played out every fucking part that was asked of us and that was for our greater good our whole fucking life. And we're so on a whole other fucking timeline of, yeah, we're not here to do the same fucking shit as other people. We already been there, done that. We're here to bring in a whole new fucking world that has never been done before. And not everybody's going to even be a part of that, even if we are all one. And it's not because we are picking and choosing. We are of love. It's because birds of a feather flock together. Know yourself, then you know the parts you are to play. Andrea's video, her little trinity, 1, 2, 3 of videos, little shorts, and everything inside of me says, I work damn hard. My job, my role, my purpose in the last 3 years to gather as many as I was guided to gather. Because it's never been about the numbers of quantity, it's about the quality. I have my divine 44, 144, but 44 stands out a lot today, guys. That I'm meant to gather, and you guys are going to find each other. You're going to live happily ever after. What does happily ever after fucking actually mean? It means that we're here to create heaven on earth, Eden. How we do it is going to have a lot of like bumps and like boom, boom, boom. But it's still happily ever after. Because nothing will ever be the same. right? If that makes any fucking sense at all. What I was getting to about Andrea's trinity of videos is the censorship is not going away. Censorship's what's going to push people. Yeah, here's my higher perspective. It's what's going to push people to actually act. Because if you can't comment on people's videos, guess what? You're going to have to reach out and fucking email or text them or even have a fucking Skype or phone conversation at some point because your fucking heart and how it fucking feels, that you can't just readily be accessible and be poking into people just a little. You're going to have to actually show up. Certain channels are going to disappear. Our internet's going to go down. You won't even be able to see us and watch us just sitting there all fucking freely all the fucking time. You're going to have to choose who the fuck actually means something to you and show up in a different way. Because why buy the cow if you can get the milk for free, right? How many people just sitting here for year after year after year making vids trying to help other people for free, sharing their guests, sharing their whatever it is that their purpose is, yet no other momentum. So how does the universe, source, where there is no good or bad, use YouTube to push people to do more, to be more, to actually show up 144, your full fucking heart, not just sitting there looking and peeking in and wondering, oh, I'll wait a little longer, where you gotta fucking show up. Because the world is getting so chaotic that when you're sitting there and butt fucking nowhere and you can't press on videos and watch anymore, you're gonna know that shit's going down in a certain place. And what the fuck have I done? Waiting all this time, not of action, when I could have been with these people all along. Yeah. So as much as censorship looks like, oh my God, this is fucking scary and this fucking sucks and there's so much anger and whatever, guess what? It's what's actually going to make people act. Because if all of a sudden there's a fucking blackout, you can't just watch stuff. How the fuck's it going to make you feel? It's going to push you into momentum. Baby birds get pushed right the fuck out of their nest when the mama birds knows they can fly. And it's the same thing for us. It really is. Like, that's it. And you knows what I'm talking about when you fucking hated that job and you fucking weren't fucking like showing up 100%, giving your energy where you're supposed to because you're being paid for it. And then shit, you didn't make the choice. And then you got fired. Oh my gosh, now you're insulted because you got fired. But god damn it, you weren't fucking functioning there. Why would anybody pay you? I remember years ago I said, you know, if your timeline's running and you're not supposed to meant to be at work anymore, you might not be the only one. And someday you guys are going to go to work and you're not going to have a workplace because the building will be burning down. Yeah. And guess what? I think it's like 3 or 5 people, I can't remember exactly, in the last year who exactly that's what happened. That person knew they didn't like their job. If you don't like it, if other people don't like it, if nobody's going to change anything, boom, burn, baby, burn. But then people are like, oh my God, the whole building burned. And oh. Guess what? It didn't have to burn. There's people not stepping into their own fucking heart space. Because essentially, what's the most like, what the fuck of all of this? Is that humans aren't being asked to act in cruel ways or to be bad people all over the whole fucking world. If you're a walking, talking avatar breathing, it's your heart, your soul that's pushing you to be the best. And then you're hanging on to stuff because it happened to you in the past instead of being in the now and having a better future. It really doesn't matter what you think you did or what you think was done to you. And we could sit here and, do the spiritual stuff of it takes time, because it does. But guess what? If you've had time, you don't get to hold on to that anymore. And it's like fucking the ultimate of what has got to give for the people who have done the work, people who know what they want to act. Well, something's gonna happen. Again, everybody's different. You might watch me and you're like, what the fuck? I am acting. Well, then, yeah, obviously you are. So kudos to yourself. Pat yourself on the back. Know you were one of those people. Because not everybody's sitting there wondering what they should be doing. But literally, there's many of us doing exactly what we're told to do, knowing that every day we offer a certain timeline up for grabs. Take it. And it's not leaped into. And there's a beauty to divine timing. There really is. The more we wait for something, holy fuck, the more we're grateful. I was telling Lily the other day of how, when I was little, I was already counting the days till I could have my driver's license. By the time I was like 12, I was counting the days, the years, and pretty much the minutes. I'd calculated when January 7th was, when I was going to be 16, and I was counting down. By the time just before my 16th birthday came around, I already had the driver's license course done. And on the first day I could be there to get my beginners, the written test, holy shit, you can be sure I was there. But guess what? I failed. And then I had to wait a little bit, pay a little bit more. Guess what? The second time I failed the written test as well. Yeah. Thing I wanted the fucking most since a child. Failed twice the written test. Finally, the third time was the charm. Then I had to wait a little bit more because there's like a space back then in the 80s of you do your stuff, you pass your beginners, they called it. Then you gotta wait, I forget, a couple weeks. Yeah.
After you come in, can you agree, like, clean purchases and stuff,
Sure, just a minute.
and set up for you to set it?
So then I waited and, went to pay for the driver test, the actual driver test. I'm finally gonna be a driver. I'm a winner, baby. Guess what? I failed. Yeah. I failed so fucking hard that he told me I failed before we even entered the parking lot. So by the time we entered the parking lot, I banged into the fucking cement thing. If that cement thing hadn't been there, it would have been right in the fucking window. When I went for my driver's test the second time, guess what? I fucking failed again. I did. The guy looked at me, he said, I'm not failing you because you can't drive. I'm failing you because you're so used to driving now that you fucking forgot to do a 3-second stop. Like, well, no shit. I've been driving for fucking years now. When I finally went for the third time, paid again. Boom, I got it. You can be damn sure I've always been grateful to be able to drive. Which the kind of funny full circle thing is, I don't even have a car right now and I can't drive. Yeah. That's just a little story of like, how fucking like, whoa. Did you fucking want so much something, you still gotta wait for it. And you can try and try again. Fail and fail again. You're still gonna go and try again. Right? Anyways, I'm gonna leave it at that. Take what resonates and leave the rest. Because if you're in resistance, you know exactly what you're resisting. And if you're not in resistance, then you're actually in action of exactly what you're meant to be doing. It is just that simple. And resistance is not an option. It's a free will option, but it will get you pushed out in a way that didn't have to be. And that's why I can say all the time, from the perspective of Source, there is no good or bad. Because the reason that bad things or shitty things or hard, complicated things happen is because people don't leap into the good that's right in front of them all along.